there's cause and effect in this reality. We can put energy into something and we receive something. And so in this game, which is this reality, if you're present to it, then you will physically align with, physically see and match with the people that are actually fully meant for you. When we overlay this access and this digital layer to it, there's consequences to that. And it's like, yes, you may meet someone in that augmented reality that then you can ground within base reality. And you may have never met them had it been for this layer and access. But like you said, the massive amount of potential doesn't mean that it's always the best thing for you. You can figure it out, you can make it work, but I personally am not someone who likes to figure out my reality or make it work. I like it to be flow. I like it to be alignment, feeling in my body, feeling present, and know what's happening here and now, and be connected to that versus like, oh, I guess I'll figure this thing out now that I'm here. But that's where that shift in your choice to get off the apps and ground yourself in this reality, see who you're open to, and then going through the necessary grief that may happen longer than you think. And then since this is base reality, you go through that grief and then it comes to you.
Yeah.
You feel that emotion fully. You actually feel the grief that you're feeling. You're feeling the scarcity and the lack, like, oh, it's going to take so long. And then once you feel that, it can come to you because you just made space for it. Versus always being in the video game, always being on the dating apps, always going around in that realm and suffering the consequences.
Yeah, it's such a shift in consciousness. A couple single girlfriends of mine were like, yeah, these dating apps aren't working. Let's go to like Nobu, Malibu and do a little Sunday lunch there and like we'll meet someone. Like, so we're going in, we're dressed cute, and we look around the restaurant and, you know, everyone's just like sitting at their table. No one's really talking and our types aren't there. And it was so interesting. My friend instantly just gets on Hinge. And I'm like, the irony, like we go out, but it's like, we're like, no, my guy's not here. Let me go on an app. I'm like, that. Yeah. There's two parts to it. We're so my way that even the one time I go out, I expect, well, I went out one time, he should be here this time, you know? That's not how it works. Think about our parents and just that generation, how many places they went for years until they found that person. But then it's like this cutoff that happens that like when that person's not there, we're like, well, I'm going to find, and here's the thing that these apps provide us with is it gives you a gateway to start talking. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, let's say I'm at a restaurant and there is someone that I would be maybe interested in speaking to. What am I going to do? Go up to their table? Hey, I have no idea if you're married or anything and you're in the middle of a conversation, but like, you're my type. Like, you would never do that, you know? So,
well, I think that's actually the problem.
Yeah. But we need to have more shared community spaces, yes, which we have that in Europe. America doesn't really have that much. And Europe's even losing it. Mm-hmm. But like I remember in like Italy, like every sunset, everyone would go into like the piazza and like they're all like talking and getting to know each other. So it's like back in the day, relationships were built over time, that you would always see the same person there every day and you start to notice her and then you would maybe talk a little bit and go away and you were building a crush, building a crush, building a crush. Whereas now what's happening with these apps is I think you're hot, you think I'm hot, we're face to face. There's all this pressure of are we going to go on a date or not? Biologically, men, when they are face to face next to someone, actually go into a fight state. Did you know this?
Mm-mm.
So they've done psychological studies that when men are side by side next to someone, they're actually much more able to open up.
Side by side?
Side by side.
Wow.
When they are face to face, it's almost like you're about to quarrel.
Okay.
Because throughout history, if a man was face to face like this with someone, it means you're about to fight, you know, or you're about to fuck, you know, It's like this really intense thing. So that's why with little boys, when they're working with them in therapy, they sit next to them. They often have them draw and do something so they're kind of distracted. And that's when they start to open up. Whereas women have no problem sitting face by face and talking next to someone. But even just the nature of the app is very face to face, which is a lot of pressure for the man. And then the man's like, I don't even know you.
I wonder if that's why there's so many, and I only know this because of seeing yours.
Yeah.
Like, why are there so many guys that are like, their pictures with them like side to the side or like...
Because men feel weird about like just taking a picture of them.
Full face on.
Full face picture.
That's
exactly.
so deep.
And then there's also that, do I come off as gay? if I take selfies
Oh,
of myself
yeah,
and
for
that kind of thing.
sure.
So I think men are also trying to show like, I don't care about my looks and so
Yeah.
but then a lot of their pictures are they're in hats and
Yeah,
they're
the hats
hiding
and
themselves.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
I have a friend that she dated this guy and he shared that his Hinge pictures were his wedding photos.
Because that was the best photos
That was
he
the
had?
only photo shoot he had, and it was like 7 years ago. Like imagine, yeah. Just like crop out the wife, you
Yeah.
know, like
Me in a suit, that's good enough.
yeah, it's fine. But just the nature of that is so high pressure that when I talk, because I talked to so many couples and the ways that a lot of couples happen was like there was a shared space. So when I was single, that first year of being single, when I was just traveling, I was like, why aren't I meeting someone in London and Portugal and this? I wasn't in the communities there.
No.
I was just
it
going to
takes
one
time.
place one time,
Yeah, it takes
thinking I
time.
must meet him there. But I bet you if I went to the same place, the same coffee shop every day for 6 months, I would build a relationship with someone,
Yeah.
you know? And that's why, in a way, relationships in small towns are easier because you're continuing to see the same people. What I realized was happening in London is everyone's going out, meeting tons of new people. So even if you meet and they ask you on a date, they're likely not even going to follow through because the next night they go and they meet someone else. And it's, again, this illusion of eternal options. But then there's this deep sense of loneliness because no one's actually meeting you. You know, who do you call at 3 a.m. if you need help? Who do you process the things in your life with? And, you know, that's why friendships are so important too, because most friendships do outlast relationships these days, you know, besides if you really have a long-term marriage. So I find that just how fast moving we are on and off the apps and the fact that we're continuously traveling is also preventing us from being in a relationship.
Yeah, that's the question. Oh, there's no good people. Yes, there are. But which reality are you operating in? Can you see them? And do you want to be seen? Do you really want to be seen? Do you really want to be heard? Do you really want to be valued? Or is there closure there? Waiting, which is a whole portal of conversation, just waiting and waiting and waiting for the one who will come in and then it's that's the one, now I'll open, versus being open and being in a place of trust and confidence to be able to discern when people come in and out, versus waiting closed down for this idealized version that's going to come and then everything's going to make sense. And that's just, it takes work though, especially after being hurt, especially after going through many layers or any layers of trauma or heartache or heartbreak or the resentment of this whole process or the byproduct of this culture that we live in. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to be open. And has to happen in our own time, in our own way. And there is a level of like our grandparents' era, which is like, get over it, like get to it and get through it. Not in this like tough love kind of way, but feel it fully and like actually give yourself the space and time with friendship, with therapist, with coach, with community to feel things fully so you can get over it. Because that's like, I talk to people, right? High operating executives. And they're like, yeah, I don't feel anxiety. Like that's a new generation. It's so hard to find good workers now because everyone talks about anxiety. And it's because they're operating in the world of it doesn't exist. You're making a problem. Our generation is like, no, this is a real thing. And then those two butt heads. But then if you merge those two things, there's this flow between the awareness of the trauma, the awareness of the anxiety, the awareness of the pain, and having the space, the confidence to feel it fully, go through it, to where you can get over it, to where you are in that place where it's like, oh yeah, I've felt that and experienced that. But it takes it takes a village. Like it's not something you do on your own.
Is like we think the way to get rid of anxiety is just like, I don't know, just like go to therapy. And like, yes, that's a part of it. The thing that made me really dissolve most of I would say I really rarely feel anxious. I can feel sad, but not anxious. What did that? Going through heartbreak.
Yeah, really?
The thing that made me no longer, because once you go through something so big, you stop giving a fuck about little things.
The little things, yeah.
Yeah, that I'm just like, oh, like I used to put out a book and I would be like, so nervous for like months before. Oh my God, what are the Amazon reviews going to say? What if people don't like it? What if it doesn't sell well? Am I going to hit the New York Times list? This? I put out a whole album like rapping. I'm like dancing with serpents and stuff. I never once even had a thought of what if people don't like it? I don't give a fuck if people don't like it. I'm doing this for me, you know? Why? Because I went into my pain.
Fully. And you have done things in your life to position yourself around people who see you, value, and care for you, and you see and value and care for others, to where there's that reciprocity. Like when I first met you, I kind of barely knew you. And then over the next few years, especially the last year and a half, I've gotten to see the ways that you sacrifice. And that's the difference, is you're not sacrificing, it's not self-sacrificing in a way where you're abandoning yourself. But I've seen the way that you value people and how and when you show up for them. And you pour into people in a way that you build those deep bonds. But you're not losing your integrity by making a sacrifice. It's that you're accessing that highest level of love through sacrifice. But you yourself aren't abandoned in the process. So since I've witnessed you doing that, I've seen and I've felt the relationships that you have, obviously me being one of them, and the network that you have, to when you go through that thing, what you're able to create expands. You go from writing books to making an album, and now a show, and maybe this and that. And that's the scale of creativity expands in direct proportion of your ability to feel things fully and go through it, which is a reflection of being in community, valuing other people,